It's time to dad.
Hey now, welcome in. Welcome back to Time to Dad. We are once again joined by James and Nick, our esteemed leader, Joel. We got a couple newbies. I've been out for a couple weeks, but I am Jason. This is a dad podcast where we try to talk about all things being a dad, choices you make for your kids, choices you make for yourself, things that I think help dads as they try to navigate the world of being a dad. So it is time to be a dad here. This week, we're going to try to talk about some topics that involve making choices for your kids, making smart choices, whether it's entertainment, diet, you know, what they can watch on TV, what's going to be overstimulating. So if you are interested in stuff like that, if you are a dad, make sure you like and subscribe. But why don't we start it out with James? I know, James, you are very astute when it comes to food choices. You said your wife has some background in terms of dietitian type stuff and choosing the right foods for your kids. What do you like to feed your children? And what's the best way to go about it? I need some guidance on that, to be honest.
Well, I mean, really, if it just starts off with, we just started looking into what's in our food and where our food comes from, and then the more we dug down that rabbit hole, we started to see what kind of chemicals and things that they were putting in our food, and they were labeling it healthy or organic or all these like buzzword type things. So they make the parents feel good about purchasing it, and you think that it's good for your kid, and then you turn it around and there's 700 chemicals on the label. So reality is we haven't tested those chemicals, right? Like, we don't know how the chemicals added in a organic Cheeto. I'm just throwing something out there, but the chemicals we use that we say are safe in this food mixed with the chemicals we put into this food, there's no test done. So if you're eating that daily as part of your daily American diet, right? They call it the SAD diet for a reason. You're going to end up sad. That's the reason why we have so many mental health issues. I'm a firm believer, and I'm not a professional, but I'm a firm believer, and that's why we have so many cases of autism in the U.S. versus the rest of the world. So we've just chosen to be very selective of what we feed our daughter. And obviously, we're not, if we're out and about and my daughter wants ice cream, I'm not going to go try to find an ice cream store that, meets all our requirements, right? My daughter's going to get ice cream, but it's more of a treat for her and not a part of her daily diet, right? And I'll let Joel jump in here now for a little bit, but later I'll discuss like kind of what types of foods and things that we do to prepare my daughter's food.
Something I think about, my wife and I are very fit. We've had 4 kids. You can still see her abs. And that's not just from exercise, that's from diet. We eat very healthy in our house. So we don't use seed oils. Seed oils are in everything. It causes inflammation, which is the doorway. It opens it up to all the diseases. Look up what happens when your body's inflamed. And you can prevent that from those seed oils. But we also limit the sugar. We're not eating things with high carbohydrates and high sugar. People talk about, well, that's pure cane sugar, or that's honey, that's high fructose corn syrup. It's all the same. It's carbohydrates that you don't need. It's sugar that your body produces. What is it? I forget what it is. Your body basically produces sugar when it needs it. You can eat a steak all day and some vegetables, and you'll produce all the sugar. What is it? Glycine. Yeah, it's glycine. Your body produces it when it needs it. So we don't need to put added sugar into our body. And I agree with James. That depression, anxiety, I don't remember the name of the book. My wife's read so many health books on the diet, how it affects, there's a guy, Dr. Amen. He's done a lot of work on that, where if the kids are eating this way, it leads them down that road of hyperactivity, ADHD, depression, anxiety. But guess what? There are 2 massive groups that has Congress, that is in bed with Congress and with the senators. It's Big Pharma and Big Food. So both sides of the aisle, they give them junk. We're putting poison in the food. I have a very limited diet.
Corn, baby.
Corn, there's one.
Corn.
That's poison. Yeah, but
easiest thing to make.
So it is. You drive around the country, it's corn everywhere. So you give them this poison food, and then guess what? You give them a pill to try to help them with those problems. You can solve all of it with the food.
Yep.
Wait,
so you don't use seed oil. So what do you use, like avocado oil?
Yeah, there's only 3 things you should cook with. I just hired a girl to come speak to my men's retreat that we're doing, and she's the best speaker I've ever heard on this topic. She talks about, and she's not alone. This is big information. Avocado oil, coconut oil, and olive oil. Those are the 3 oils. Now, you want to use butter? You want to use healthy animal fat? Absolutely. Those are the 5 things we cook with. Everything else is poison.
Nice. I started, when I got my Blackstone, everybody was swearing about avocado oil to season the cast iron, and that's when I didn't even know avocado oil was a thing. But I used it for that, and have since started using that for most of my cooking. It's pretty bitchin', actually. And it's got a pretty damn high smoke point as well.
And that's what I was about to hit on is so olive oil is actually, you can cook with it like certain types. First of all, you need to make sure that it's a olive oil that is, because right now we're saying, hey, you can choose olive oil. Okay, well, you go to the store, there's like 40 different types of olive oils, right? Well, olive oil is big industry. Most of the olive oil on the shelf is fake.
Almost. Yeah, you gotta read it.
So it's gotta be organic, extra virgin from a single source country. So if it says, sourced from Italy, sourced from Greece, even sourced from the US, right? Like, as long as it's single source, organic, and extra virgin, you should be good, right? There's an app, and I don't want to plug other people's platforms, but there's an app called Bobby Approved that my wife and I use. He's got a YouTube channel. Take him with a grain of salt. There's sometimes he contradicts himself, but for the most part, he has educated my wife and I a lot. And if you scan the barcode on whatever you want to go purchase, it'll tell you exactly if it's approved or if it's not approved. And if it's not approved, it'll tell you why it's not approved, right? And
the most famous words in grocery stores the last year are "damn it, Bobby," because every time my wife scans anything, it's not Bobby approved. So she's always like, "Damn it, Bobby." It limits your food options, but that's a good thing.
Yeah, he's actually here in Florida with us.
James brings up the ice cream. So I'm from Massachusetts. We had a quarterback you guys probably heard of named Tom Brady up here, but he got famous. I don't know who that guy is. Never.
He's a Floridian, as far as I know. He lives down the street.
No, I know. That's right. He got famous and had torn apart a little bit for his affinity for avocado ice cream. So big health food nut. Another very controversial person when it comes to, training mechanisms, not so much with the diet if you really look into it, but how much money he charges for his supplements. But TB12 method type stuff, avocado ice cream, and talking about all the things you guys are touching on in terms of feeding your kids the right stuff. But I thought we could come full circle with the ice cream. Is avocado ice cream? Are we good on that, James? Have you sampled it?
I have never tried avocado ice cream, but I'm not against trying it.
Sounds like it would fall into the 5 food oil groups there. So I think
I think the key with that is, and we're not tyrants at all. However, there is a problem. Imagine if all of us would have been so healthy as kids that we were never given junk food, so we didn't get used to it. We didn't drink soda, and we didn't get used to it. How easy as an adult would it be to transition to a healthy adult lifestyle? I know some people who are the healthiest couples you'll ever meet, friends of ours, but then their kids eat junk, and the parents would never do it. They look at everything, they study it, they know it, very highly educated friends of ours, but they go, no, but they're just kids. But so what's going to happen? That kid's going to become an adult, and they're just used to that palate that they're developing, that the parents are helping them develop. So at our house, we eat healthy. We don't buy soda. We don't have any junk. Not hardly anything processed, mostly Bobby approved. Yeah, but when we go out, we might have a dessert, but that's maybe once a month that we're having that with them. It's not an everyday thing. For only one reason, that fear that I'm going to create a habit.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean that my daughter doesn't get snacks, right? Like, there's things like there's Bobby approved. If you go to Costco, I love Costco because Costco has so many great organic items that are and I when I say organic, I'm kind of anti the word organic because it's being used too much for marketing, but I'm going to use it in the terms of good organic. But there are organic snacks in Costco, like fruit roll-ups, right? As an example, there's a Bobby approved fruit roll-up, and you turn it around and look on the back, and it's just fruit. Fruit, right? No added preservatives, no added chemicals, no added, anything. And when I researched, to tell you how crazy I am, I've found out how to make your own fruit roll-ups, and so, and it honestly, it's cheaper to buy it's almost as cheap as to do it yourself as it is to buy the ones in the store. And since I can trust that those are good for you, then I'm okay with it. But there's beef sticks, there's all kinds of Bobby approved items that if you're out and about traveling, we pack a bag, and my daughter will get, bananas or applesauce or whatever, like same things that most of the other kids are eating, even chips. Like we will give her there's a sweet potato chip it's avocado oil and no kind of preservatives or nothing, and I think it's baked in avocado oil, but we'll give her that every once in a while. But we pack a bag of snacks for her when we're out and about. When she was much younger, I was taking oatmeal making oatmeal at the house and putting in these little squeeze packets and taking it on the go. So I'd like to hope that we're making the best decisions for our daughter. And I don't blame parents that don't do it, because not everyone has the luxury and time and money that I have. But I see all the time, like Joel said, the parents will be super conscious of what they're putting in their mouth, and then they don't educate themselves. They're like, oh, they're just kids. They don't have to worry about getting fat. They don't have to worry about the things that we do as we get older, right? Their metabolism, it's a kid. Of course they can have chocolate, right? And sure, that's okay. But I think if you're eating chocolate for breakfast, and I see this more in my circle, is where the kid will wake up in the morning and they're eating like some kind of, muffin or cereal or something that's packed full of sugar. For lunch, they're eating some kind of processed thing packed full of sugar, and then there's snacks in between, and then dinner they're eating something that's packed full of sugar and preservatives, and then they're having trouble paying attention in school, or they're having trouble, behavior issues listening to their parents, or any of these sorts of things. And the parents go take them to the doctor and they say, I don't know what's going on. The kid won't listen. And the first thing they want to do is say, all right, this kid has ADHD, and they want to give you a pill. And then you got side effects from that pill, or you're going to get another pill, right? So it's just, they're all connected, as Joel said, big pharma and big food. And if you look at who owns both of them, it's, the same 5 companies pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, dang it,
Bobby. Well, let's talk carbs, because last time I got my blood work done, my carbs weren't high, but they definitely told me that was something I could reduce and be healthier about. And I started looking at it, and I'm like, man, maybe it's just a change I just need to go with, but I was having trouble finding things to substitute for like rice or pasta, or like we like to do taco night, right? What kid doesn't love taco night and shit like that? And I struggled with, I was like, man, I don't know how these people that are on a strictly no carb diet find shit to eat.
So I'm not anti-carb because I love beer.
Yeah.
And I thought I had a gluten allergy, but I got tested and I didn't. So we choose organic noodles, or a lot of times we'll do, I can't remember what they're made out of right now, but they're, it's the chia pea noodles, okay. or stuff like that. I think their name brand is Banza or something. I think they're on the Bobby approved list. But we'll do those. But most of the time we're using just the organic, whole grain noodle. If we choose noodle, Joel's a lot thinner than I am, so he's probably going to say 0 carbs, meat only, carnivore diet. But that's not me.
No, you can eat eggs too. Yeah, we don't eat a lot of carbs. I think carbs, and when you said they're high, Nick, you're talking about triglycerides?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we, I don't believe that our ancestors hunted for carbs too much. I think they came across it occasionally on a fruit tree, for a short season, and they probably piled up, added a couple pounds of fat if they could for the winter or something like that. But I don't think we're made to eat all these carbohydrates. Now, do they taste amazing? Heck yeah. I have a sweet tooth if I let it go to my default. So what I did, I have a friend, he was the doctor for the local NHL team here in South Florida, and he traveled with the team. He was a triathlete, very smart guy. And years ago, he told me, do you know your sweet tooth can be altered? And we're at dinner, and I go, I don't know, man. I maybe ordered dessert. He did not. And he said, here's what I did. And he took like 30 to 90 days. I forget what he told me. And he just broke that habit. And he goes, when you fight the urge, and it's hard, you're going to fight it for those first 30 days, and it's going to suck. And then after a while, something changes in your brain. Your brain chemistry, like the signal for needing the sweets goes away. And I can tell you, I've done that, and I don't need the sweets anymore. Now, when I do taste, once every couple of months, I'll taste something I used to love. I go, ugh. Like now, if I have a sip of soda, I haven't drank soda in years, but if I have a tiny sip, and I mean it tastes disgusting to me when it used to be the most beautiful. So we can be trained back to what we were built to do.
100% agree.
That's fair. I gotta. It's funny. I looped this around a lot. If you guys went back in the show with me a little bit, but I don't see a stark contrast between kids and dogs. I really don't. But I have pets, and I had pets all my life, and my cat recently developed diabetes, and he's a male cat, and he loves to eat. And we had to get him on insulin and get educated on what that entails, and that was a real pain in the ass, as it can be. And I'm sure parents out there who have to deal with that is a whole other thing. I actually have close friends of the family who have a little girl with type 1 diabetes, and that is something that I don't wish on any parent. Very difficult existence. I'm sure we could touch on that in a whole episode in itself. But my cat essentially gave himself diabetes with his diet, which I provided. A lot of dry food, which to the vet is just carb loaded filler food. Got pretty overweight, and essentially became pre-diabetic and gave himself diabetes, and basically switching him to mostly a wet food diet, which is very lean, a lot of protein, fish, meat, eliminating that dry food carbs. He basically within a couple of months no longer has that problem. So again, if you grow up with a certain diet and you train your kids to eat, or you don't even need to train them, that's what they eat, that's how they live, it's much easier. So I think the lesson would be to make the right choices for your kids early enough and not give them that option. I mean, my dogs never ate table scraps. They didn't have a lot of food unless grandpa or grandma came over and were like feeding the dog, whatever. They eat dog food. The kids try to feed them off the table. It's like, no, they eat a very controlled diet for a reason, and it allows them to stay underweight and not become unhealthy like humans. So I think that there's something to be said for just making it very, very normalizing the right diet and the right course of action in terms of exercise, normalizing not watching a ton of TV, getting outside, using your brain for puzzles and things that are going to be constructive. All these things are, seemingly obvious, but very hard in the moment. So I think just having that focused approach to kids is huge.
I think, I was just going to say, I think most parents probably start off, I mean, this is how my wife and I were anyway. I think most parents start off on the right foot where they're like, I have this new being in my life. I want to nurture it and give it healthy, nutritious things that I know are safe. And then you kind of hit that spot in life where either financially having a child catches up to you, or schedule wise having a child catches up to you, to where you're no longer you no longer have time to prepare like a nice meal. You got sports and shit going on, and so parents are just grabbing, boxed meals that they can just set and forget and take care of all the other shit they hadn't gotten to yet. I think that's where a lot of parents kind of get derailed is just finding the time to, because sure, there's all those companies out there that'll send you fresh shit, and some of them are good, some of them are still feeding you junk, but that's expensive too, right? And there's not a lot of companies out there that make like quick meals that are super healthy, that you can just go into like a box store, like I don't know what grocery chains you have, but like we have a Kroger here. They don't sell a lot of like ready to serve in like 20-minute type healthy meals. It's all like complete junk when you buy that kind of food. And I think a lot of parents fall into the trap of it. That's just a necessity, is just getting dinner done, right? And then helping with homework and getting ready for bed or whatever. I think the schedule just kind of drives parents to slip up on that, to where it just starts to become a norm. Or picky eaters, I know, can be a big problem. If like God bless my mom, she'll make our son try like any, and she'll cook him some weird shit, because she cooks a lot of different stuff than we do. And when I say weird, it's just stuff that we don't normally have at our house. And so luckily our son's not super picky. He'll try anything once, and he likes a lot of things that I think a lot of kids don't, just because we have him branch out and try so many different things. And I think that kind of goes back to the building their palate that Joel was speaking about. The more foreign things they can eat, the different foods they get used to, they kind of develop a taste for a wide variety, instead of, I think typical kids, a lot of times people think chicken nuggets, hamburgers, hot dogs, French fries, and that's pretty much all the kids want to eat. So that's kind of been a win for us, is just exposing him to as large of a variety of different foods and tastes as we can.
I think you hit on a couple of great points there. Like you said, parents start out, wanting the best, but then time gets in the way, and then I think, again, the marketing that is pushed at us forces us to think we're making the right decisions, because we're picking something that says healthy or low fat, or just, whatever marketing term you want to throw out there. So the parents just thinks they can grab that quick, easy, even some of these microwave dinners will scream health, right? Like it's not healthy for you. So
yeah, until you flip it around and start reading.
So quick and fast, right? And then the other barrier to entry for most people is that they think that eating good equals more expensive, right? And I think if you go back to, some people like the carnivore diet, some people like the there's all different types of ways to look at it. But I think the number one thing that's been proven time and time again is that the Mediterranean diet, sticking to a more of a Mediterranean diet, has the least amount of cancer and the longest amount of longevity, lifespan. And if you look at the foods they eat, they're all very basic. They can be cooked very fast. And I would say the most expensive part of our grocery shopping is the meats, because that's the most despairing in prices between the regular food and the pasture raised beef, right? Like especially the chicken,
antibiotic free, like free range.
The chicken is like for a 20 pack of chicken wings you might get for $20, for the low end, and $40 for the pasture raised chicken, organic diet type chicken, right? So for my beef at Costco, though, I think it's pretty comparable to the normal beef, and then we have pasture raised, grass fed beef. But either way, like, I think that just making start implementing some of those choices into your life, and then eventually, when you start to prioritize that health, then you can start to find ways to make time easier. Like my wife, she packs it just like she packs her purse with her keys and everything else. She packs those things into her mom bag when she leaves the house, and she has them on the go, so she doesn't have to make that decision at the fast food restaurant. She already has it on her, right? So I just think those little things you can do while you're out and about help you make the right decisions.
I was gonna say, do you guys meal prep, Joel and James?
We don't.
Or do you just everything per meal?
Yeah, we're home all day.
Meal prep for myself. I meal prep for myself for the week, but
something that was touched on here about picky eaters. I'll share something. We have 4 kids, and and they will all eat everything you can imagine. Escargot, oxtail, whatever. I mean, anything you can imagine. They will all eat it. You know why? Because we had this little trick when they were babies. We would give them the spoon of the split pea, and they'd have it, and they'd push it away. And we'd just kindly and start playing with them and give it to them again. They'd push it away. And we did that over and over and over. And then when they just don't want it, we just sit there and we wait. And then the hunger kicks in, and then you try again. And then they want it all of a sudden. Sometimes that extended, and we weren't lazy. Our discipline is the reason we had kids is because we want the best for them. We want to produce them to be the best people possible. We're going to have the discipline. And then we just kept trying. And if they didn't want it and they absolutely wouldn't have it, that's their breakfast tomorrow. Cover it up, put it in the fridge, we'll heat it up, and that's what you're going to eat. After a few times, guess what happens? They go, okay, that's it. They're not even a year old, and you've already trained them in the right way. They will eat everything. Because
That's so hard. That's so hard. Like I 100% agree with you. And we got to that point with Emerson when he was, I don't know, probably between like 2 and 3, where we could tell he was going to that path where there was just shit he did not want to try. He had his favorite foods and that all he wanted to eat. But we did have to do that method a couple times where, you know, he went to bed hungry a couple nights, and your kid's not going to die. You're not ruining their life by them missing a single meal. But what you are going to do is teach them that what we're having for dinner is what we're having for dinner. So obviously if you start getting into this scenario where they're missing multiple meals, that's a different story. But if your kid doesn't want what you have for dinner, it is not a big deal for them to go home, and that stomach's going to rumble, and they're going to think about it next time you offer them something to eat.
When you're hungry, I really want to push this away. Doesn't everything taste amazing when you're hungry? Yeah. That's all we have to recreate for them. My daughter, when she was 5 years old, had stomach issues, and we had to do a lot of testing. There was a 5-day period where she ate 0. She didn't eat a thing. Mm-hmm. She had to fast for 5 days because every day they were doing testing. And she woke up that 4th or 5th day, and she'd go, "Mommy, today can I eat?" And we'd say, "No, today you can't eat either." She'd say, "Okay." The entire day, she would just have water. Our bodies are built to go a long time without eating.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, it's kind of akin to the Ferber method, right? A lot of parents struggle with that if that's something they choose to do. And we had to do that, and we struggle with it. You feel like a terrible parent listening to your kid wail and not go to sleep. But then when it all clicks and it finally starts working, right, it was well worth it. And you realize you're making the right decisions about things. And yeah, that's part of being a parent and a dad is
Ferber,
you got to make those.
Ferber, is that the Baby Wise book?
I can't remember what it is, but it's basically the let them cry it out method when you put them down and not immediately going in there and coddling them. Yep. It's been so long since we had to do that crap. But yeah, it's kind of along the same lines. You know, you got to grind it out, and it's not the most comfortable thing to do. But at the end of the day, your child is still safe and healthy, and will continue to be so. It's just kind of a mountain you gotta get to the top of and make your way down.
We took a different approach.
I had a Furby when I was a kid. I did.
You what?
I had Furbies.
Furbies?
Oh no! Oh, sorry.
Furby. Yeah, we took it's kind of like that.
We took a different approach though. Whenever when my daughter started eating foods at 6 months, we introduced her to all sorts of everything you can imagine, beets and just every kind of food, and she ate everything. And then about time she was, I don't know, a year and a half old is when she started getting a little bit more picky. And if there was something that was her favorite food, like spaghetti, like noodles would be her favorite thing for a while. In order for and she would eat no meat, like she was not getting any meat whatsoever. And her iron levels were coming. Oh, by the way, I'm going to say this for anybody listening out there: don't expect your healthcare professionals to point you down the right direction, because I have the luxury of having free healthcare and access to nutritionists and all these things. And my wife, hey, it's free. Why not take advantage of it? My wife went to nutritionist, went to the pediatrician. She talked about all these things. And at the end of the day, they were telling my wife to give my daughter processed crap. So they have very little research. And if you look at, the people that are teaching our medical professionals, tie it back, it's big pharma, right? So, and I hate to just sound like a conspiracy theorist, but it's the truth. But what we did with our daughter, instead of the, hey, you didn't eat, then you're going to bed hungry method. And I'm not knocking that because it's tried and true. is we would give her what she wanted, but then the next night we would go back to the same thing that she didn't like, and it might not be the next night, but 3 nights later, like we just kept introducing the foods that she didn't like over and over. And in order to get the nutrition in her diet, if there was something that she was hyper focused on, like noodles or whatever, my wife would make the sauce, and we would mix the meat up in the sauce and put all kinds of vegetables and stuff and put it in a blender and into a NutriBullet and blend it up into a sauce. And, we knew she was getting her fiber. I mean, fiber and all her nutrients and everything in that one meal. And then, since my daughter was 6 months old, her breakfast has been oatmeal, probably about a cup of blended mixed fruit and flaxseed and chia seeds, right? Like all mixed up together. And that's her breakfast every morning. So I know she's getting a good portion of her daily, even if she doesn't eat anything else the rest of the day, like she's already getting a good portion of the nutrients and things she needs right there in the morning with spinach and, everything all mixed up into the sauce that my wife puts into the oatmeal. And then throughout the day, she gets, various things. And then at night, we try to eat healthy. But, Joel hit on it earlier with, if you eat things with like those inflammatory oils and all the different types of things, you end up looking in the pharmacy aisle for something, right? Well, the first time my daughter got a fever, the first time my daughter, when she was teething and she was hurting, like as a dad, the first thing you want to do is go to that aisle and like, hey, I need something for teething, and boom, there's a medicine for it, right? But if you start to research it, like the pain level for a kid teething is not that serious. So you can just offer them frozen treats or a frozen chewable, like a chew toy or, something like that. And that will comfort them.
Who said that damn, there's a binky that you basically like build, you turn it into an ice cube tray, basically. I forget. Yep. We had like a gadgets for newborn dads episode early on. And that was one of the things. And I was like, where the hell was that? Because I felt terrible going to buy like I forget the fucking brand, ZBs or some shit, like the kids brand. But we were going and buying the teething shit, and we were buying the shit when he was gassy because the doctor's telling us to give him this shit.
Exactly.
So
I mean, don't feel guilty about it because that's what the healthcare professionals are pushing, right? So you think that you're doing the right decision, but when you start to research it, they don't need it. And then on top of that, like I'm currently researching or trying to look for a holistic doctor here in my area, and anyone listening is going to think I'm some hippie. I'm really not. It's just the smarter I get on food and medicine, the more, like if your kid has a cough, guess what the best thing for them? Honey, organic, natural honey. There's all kinds of like
great honey brandy. And a little herbal tea, uncaffeinated.
There's all kinds of things you can do with that honey. Like you can make cough lozenges yourself just with like 2 ingredients, some lemon and some honey, and other things. Or like I've seen a bunch of TikToks lately where you just take raw onions and honey and put them into a container, let them sit for a week, and then you have your cough syrup right there, right? And so it's just all of these little things. Like if that's real, like if the next time I get sick, if I put in onions in your socks and going to bed at night, like you think that, like I heard.
I don't want to smell that shit.
I'm just saying. I heard these types of things when I was a kid, right? Like these old country, like cure-alls, and I always thought they were just old country wise tales. But
big pharma wasn't always big pharma, so
right. So if there's truth in these, and like I can really just put some onions in my sock before going to bed if I'm starting to get sick, and it cures my sickness, the first time I do it and it works, it's gonna blow my mind on how bad big pharma really is.
Be sleeping on the couch.
Yeah, outside.
Organic onion.
I'm just saying, like it's those little things. I was reading an article today about Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's wasn't a thing 100 years ago. Even before the 70s, it really wasn't a thing. And guess what the big switch in our diet was from the 70s till now? Cholesterol. Like we didn't care about cholesterol. Like, so your brain is made up of like, I don't know, 80 or 90% cholesterol.
Slabs of bacon all day.
The thing is, since the 70s, we've been anti-cholesterol. We thought that cholesterol was like this bad thing. So they created like margarine as an example, and for margarine was created in the 1800s, but it had animal fat in it. Well, in the 70s is when they did away with the animal fat and put vegetable oils in there. And then the 70s is also where we started marketing all this, cholesterol bad food, right? So low cholesterol food, low cholesterol diets, all these things.
Low fat diet.
Low fat diets, and like started pushing these vegetable oils, and then your brain is made up of like 80-90% cholesterol. So if your brain is not healthy, then you can see why Alzheimer's and those sorts of things start to get, and back to the inflammation, right? Like if your body's completely inflamed, your brain's not getting the food that it needs, then all of it just leads to one big thing.
There's a great book by Peter Attia, Dr. Peter Attia. He's always on Joe Rogan. Outlive. I read that last year. That book's phenomenal. It talks about type 3 diabetes is what's happening to our brains, and it's Alzheimer's and all this, and it's happening because of this sugar. The whole book, basically, I can sum it up for you in about 10 seconds. It's stop eating sugar. It's leading to a ton of problems, heart disease. I mean, everything you can imagine. And like I said before, our ancestors did not have all this access to all this sugar. This is a new thing that we're dealing with. It's like the low fat. Man, all I want to eat is protein and fat. Everything I look at, I want high fat, high protein. And for me, dessert, just by the way, has become Greek yogurt, and there's different stages.
If you're active though, you got to be active if it is a high protein, high fat diet though.
Sure. Well, if you're a human being on this planet, you were made to chase an animal. You were made to fight off an animal, fight off a bad guy. If you're not active, I don't think you should be alive. We're meant to be active. We're not meant to sit in a chair. We're not. Yeah. We're not meant to sit in a dark room without a window. We're supposed to be outside. We're supposed to be running around. It makes you feel a lot better. So human beings are supposed to be active. Lot. What's that?
I said chasing customers on a lot. That's what we were meant to do. This guy's looking for a vehicle. I'm chasing him down. He's driving away. I'll lay down on the lot. That's what my ancestors taught me to do. No, I'm joking. It's true. It's actually one of my more active jobs is sales. I'm running around chasing people with money. That's all I do.
You're outside. You get some sunlight, fresh air.
Well, shit. I don't want to cut this episode short. We didn't get to our other topic, but this has been a great discussion. I think we'll have to revisit it and talk about it some more, because I think there's a lot more stuff we could uncover and help some dads think about. But hopefully this episode has at least piqued your interest if you're listening. Maybe turn that box over and give it a look. Check out the app we mentioned. There are some really good resources out there. If you don't have a personal nutritionist or a doctor, you can talk to about it. But yeah, just some food for thought. Check that stuff out. And nothing wrong with a healthier lifestyle. And there's ways to do it on the cheap, and there's ways to at least better your current diet, even if you don't do it on the cheap. So again, thank you guys for listening, checking us out, like and subscribe, check out the Facebook group, and we will catch you on the next episode. See you later.